Hi everybody, and welcome back to From This Corner TV. And I'm your host, Marilyn Dayton. We've got another wonderful show for you. So the first thing you want to do, get out your paper and your pen. Now don't go away from the television though while you're doing that, okay? Because there's some things we're going to be talking about. You're going to want to write it down, as usual. So we've got a wonderful show for you tonight. We've got my friend Jane Percy is here. From Riverlight Wellness Center. She's a health advocate and coach, intuitive energy healer, and medical hypnotherapist. And she specializes in medical hypnosis, resilience training, and trauma management at Riverlight Wellness Center here in Stonington, Connecticut. And thank you so much, Jane, for joining us.
I'm delighted to be here, especially with you, Marilyn.
Thank you. Now, you were one of the first people I met when I moved here about 11, 12 years ago. And I came to you, and you helped me with some stress problems that I was having. And and the other day, I experienced meditation with her too. So I'm going to pop in from time to time with my experience, okay?
That's great.
Which is a good thing. But if you were to encapsulate who you are and what you do in one word, what would that be?
I think it would have to be teacher. I think that's why I'm here, is to share what I've learned and help people live more fully and be as well as they can be and as happy as they can be.
Now, you've helped a lot of people that I know in a lot of different ways. And we were in the same, my office that I closed, I can't say this year anymore, it was a year ago, was in the same building.
Right.
And you had once told me that you wanted to have an office that was by the water. And of course you live on the water in Mystic.
I do. Water seems to be very, very restorative for me. I think it is for many people.
It is. It used to scare me, but that's another story.
Well, we saw what can happen when water gets out of control when Sandy struck. So
oh, that's for
water
sure.
is powerful stuff too, but most of the time for me it's a very, very healing substance. So.
And of course we are, how much of our body is water? 90% or something
well,
like
I think more than 70%, yeah, 60 to 70%.
So
we are water.
We are. We are what we eat. We are water, all of that.
We're what we think.
Yes. So you know what I'd really like to talk about today is wellness skills. Okay. I kind of titled this show, if I can find it, Wellness, Evolution, and Change with Wellness Skills. And what are the wellness skills that we're going to be talking about today?
There's so many. It's hard to choose, isn't it? But I think if we focus on two that are readily available to people and that don't require any special circumstances or equipment, I'd like to talk about self-hypnosis, which is a way of managing your stress, of shifting your thinking, relieving pain and discomfort, maybe even helping you get to sleep. This time of year, just after the first of the year, when people have so many New Year's resolutions, being able to kind of quietly hypnotize yourself for a minute or two helps you to get your mindset positive before you go out in the evening and you might eat too much or drink too much or
I can't relate, of course.
You can't relate to that, of course. So I think self-hypnosis is one of those great skills that once people have learned, they find they can use over and over and over in almost any circumstance. If you're going to the dentist and having an uncomfortable procedure and to have the ability to self-soothe or to even feel yourself drifting off to sleep while somebody's drilling away, that's an amazing skill.
Is that similar to guided imagery, or is that a part of it?
It's just a different thing. Guided imagery is many things, but I like to think of it as a directed daydream, and it's something that you receive as opposed to something that you can produce for yourself. Although, you know, people who've had the experience of creating a safe place in their mind, we've done this a little bit together,
Yes.
And can picture that beautiful garden or the lovely cozy cushions that they rest in, having the ability to kind of shift your mind into a place of safety and calm is a piece of what guided imagery is. But no, self-hypnosis is really taking a challenge that you have. It'd be great if we could think of something.
Stress
yeah,
is
well,
always a good
yeah,
one.
so relaxation. So where you measure the level of stress that you're feeling, you give it a number, you give it a rating, and close your eyes and practice. And there are all different ways. Maybe sometime we could do that on the show together where I can show people how to actually hypnotize themselves. It's quick and easy. To be able to shift out of that stressful place in almost less time than it takes you to wash your hands. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
The 1 minute improvement.
Now, when I came to you, I'd really never been hypnotized before. And we didn't do it immediately. I mean, we kind of established a relationship and got very comfortable. And then you were doing some biofeedback, and I really, really needed a lot of help because I did have stress from a situation I was trying to leave. And sometimes when you're trying to leave something, you can't really leave it. It's back there, but you're still carrying it with you. And so I needed to get rid of that and move on and release and get rid of the guilt and all of that. And because it was showing itself in physical symptoms, which was not good. And you said that I was
You're very deep trance capable. What does that mean? It means that you welcome the opportunity to close your eyes and get into a state of deep rest. And so when that's true, and it's true of most of the people that I see, once in a while someone will come in and they've got a really, really busy overdrive kind of brain pattern. Most often they are their worst enemy in it, so they'll say, oh, I don't think I could ever get that relaxed. And they can, easily. We just have to find a way in. So everybody's different. And that's why we spent some time talking. I needed to kind of get to know you a little bit. And also, it was very important for you to talk about what your objectives were so that what was said to you hypnotically was exactly in your words and exactly what you wanted to accomplish. So really, sometimes I wonder if maybe what I'm doing is unhypnotizing people. I think we get hypnotized by our fears. I think we get hypnotized by our view of our limitations. You know, somebody would say, oh no, I could never do that. And so, you know, that becomes a hypnotic suggestion.
They really believe
Negativity
it,
is very hypnotic.
Yeah.
Very hypnotic. And I guarantee that a lot of what goes into media efforts and advertising and so forth is very, very much based on how hypnotic negative and fearful thoughts can be.
Very subtle, the way it's done, yes. I know that. I was there. I did that.
But you know, the interesting thing about hypnosis is that everybody's been in hypnosis and goes into hypnosis at least twice a day. So as you fall... Daydreams are a delightful cousin of hypnosis. They're... a daydream can be very, very deep and very far away. But as you move from, you know, you're lying in bed and your head's on the pillow and you're thinking, oh, phew, finally, there's that state that we move through with brainwave patterns slow down and you move from beta to alpha. And as you pass through alpha down into the deeper brainwave, the slower brainwave patterns of theta and delta, you are in the hypnotic territory, the territory of being receptive to change, of your subconscious actually being able to dialogue with your thinky brain, the brain that says, oh, you're going to be late and you're not going to do a good job, and you know all that chatter, mind chatter. So most of us do that at least twice a day, and if we take a nap, we do it 2 more times.
Wow.
And the second phase of that is when we awaken. When we awaken, and that's an experience that somebody who's not a morning person has often, which is they wake up and they just kind of stay in that dreamy state, and it's hard for them to sort of fully awaken. They feel almost maybe stuck in an alpha or dreamlike state, and maybe they move slowly, or they need a lot of caffeine. So I
Or they
always tell
fall asleep
people,
at the table like my grandson's. He doesn't do it anymore. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. He gets all wrapped up in his blanket, puts his head down, and gone.
well, how old is your grandson?
Well, he's 12 now, but he used to do it quite often, actually.
So hypnosis is a fantastic thing to use with children. They're so hypno-capable and live in a kind of fairyland, dreamland world, and even little kids. My granddaughter used to say to me, she calls me Lala, and she would say, Lala, would you hypnose me? Hypnose me. To help her get to sleep. And when, a few years ago when she was just so excited with life, it was just really hard to let go and close her eyes and go to sleep. And when she would stay over, she would say, would you hypnose me?
That's so cute. How old is she now?
She's 7 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And her sister is 3. And
that's wonderful.
it's fun. Oh, it's great. It's great fun.
Yes, I know. We're both grandmothers here. And if you check my Facebook page at all, it's all about my grandkids.
Yeah.
But
well, that's isn't it wonderful?
it is. It's absolutely wonderful. They add so much to our lives, And
Lots of play. Getting us
Yes.
remembering how to play. The playfulness is absolutely great.
oh, it is. They have. When I was a young mother, I didn't play that much because I was also a single mother, and I had to work. And it was really kind of hard to calm down the brain and focus on them. Not while I'm still working now, but I have learned, they have demanded my attention, my grandchildren, and they have reminded me
How to
of
play.
the fun of playing. And I have my own language, and we're going to make it, they don't know it yet, so shh. We're going to make a dictionary. We're going to take what my granddaughter did, which was take my favorite strange words that I come up with and make a dictionary out of it. And we're going to make
Glossary
a bigger one.
of Marilyn, Dayton.
Oh, my goodness, the Grammy words.
That's wonderful.
And,
Absolutely great.
It is.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. So children...
Children are very responsive to guided imagery, to, I remember a little girl whose mother had come for some help with some pain and issues, and I'd made a recording and said, it's okay for you to play this with your children. It's completely appropriate for them, and if they're anxious and if they're tired or having trouble unwinding, and it's a wonderful thing to do. And so one of her daughters had a pretty nasty abrasion on her leg, and she listened to this lovely dreamy soundtrack with her mother and woke up the next day and said, Mommy, look, it's all gone, it's all better. So children have this miraculous ability to utilize imaginary stories and sounds and images in ways that adults take a little more prodding, because we move away from that as we grow up. But so it's delightful. I love being able to help people of all ages. I think the only time I would say no to a child is if they were younger than 6, maybe. I think you need somebody to be able to listen well enough to begin to follow some of the instructions.
Now, the one thing that is quite wonderful about the way you do it is, and as you can tell, her voice is very quiet, calming, and you gave me in those days it was a tape.
It was probably a tape.
Yes.
Yeah, now you'd get a CD.
Now you get a CD, yes. And I would play that as I was going to sleep at night. And it was very soothing. And it did put me in a wonderful state of mind as I did go into the sleep.
Oh, it does. It helps you sort of move into that quieter mindset. The brain waves begin to slow down, and then you can drift off into sleep. And I learned in all the neurological studies and the recent work that I've done, that the last thought that you have before sleep is very, very powerful in the way that it works in your interior life while you're sleeping. And if it's a positive thought, is something, or an image, is something that really, really is strongly lived when you awaken. And if you go to sleep with negative, fearful thoughts, that too. So, these are all things that are part of how we think about the type of stress that people experience, how hugely contributory stress is to illness, to chronic illness, to everything from heart disease, immune system issues, back pain, all of these things. So finding ways to help people manage their own stress, and that's what these wellness tools are about. Is I want to teach people ways of being able, if they flare up into the 10 zone, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, if their stress borders 8, 9, 10, and they know it and they can feel it, and they feel their blood pressure getting higher, they feel themselves clenching. A lot of people clench. To be able to say, take a breath and take 2 minutes and practice one of these skills to regulate back down in the 3-4 range, and immediately blood sugar normalizes, cholesterol normalizes, all of the markers of health and well-being normalize. So I think it's important for people to be able to care for themselves, because getting sick is costly in our culture and it's unpleasant, and I think it's wonderful to teach people how to take better care of themselves and to take responsibility for recognizing stress and managing it, moderating it. There's a dial that we all have within, and we think that we either have to take a pill or pour a drink or eat too much ice cream or some other thing to get relief. And it turns out that those kinds of choices have other consequences that really feed into the whole stress river. So learning how to to really dial it down, it's a great thing.
The interesting thing is that you can help people through hypnosis, but you also can teach them to do it for themselves, which helps them take control. That's one of the things we've talked about on this show before, is who has control over your body. Is it the doctor? Is it the medication? Is it the insurance company? Or is it you? And you are the one ultimately that needs to step up and take control over your life, your stress levels, and if there's a way that you can learn self-hypnosis. And I made a note here that I want to refer to. In 1958, the American Medical Association validated hypnosis as mainstream treatment. Now that's very important, which means that the medical community, although we don't always listen to them and we say, okay, fine, they actually say that yes, they recognize that hypnosis can be a treatment. And as far as I am concerned, it can be a preventive treatment.
An active wellness choice. It's amazing if you go to, for instance, Johns Hopkins medical website, or the Mayo Clinic, or Harvard Medical School. They all have huge sections on hypnosis and how it helps with irritable bowel, with other digestive issues. There's a very interesting series of pieces on the Harvard site about hypnosis assisting and really making a difference to women who are recovering from breast cancer. So it's great stuff, and it's easy to learn how to apply hypnosis to be capable of doing self-hypnosis. And there are no chemicals involved. There's no fancy equipment involved. It's I think important, and I always want to say, wellness is a choice, and it's an action. And I think that part of what's been wrong with our medical care system is that many, many people have been led to believe that they have no control over their health, that everybody in their family got diabetes, so they probably will, and the self-fulfillment of unhealthy patterns in families. And I just want people to know, as you're a great example of that you do have control. And there are times when you really do need to get the blood work done, and you do need to get to see your physician and do what keeps you well. But it's it will prevent you from needing to do a lot of procedures and be in a very great deal of discomfort if you can manage your stress, because stress is a trigger. It is definitely a factor in all illnesses,
and we sure have enough of that stress
and wouldn't
today,
we all
don't
do?
we?
And wouldn't we all do better if there were less of it on the
Yes.
highway, in our schools, at the post office?
everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of taking control, during those moments when we are hypnotizing ourselves, falling asleep, the last thing that we tell ourselves, we can actually try to solve a problem as we sleep, can't we?
Yes. You know, my dad is he's amazing, 95 years old and doing very well, and we all had dinner with him last night. And when he was in the peak of his career as an inventor and a metallurgist and so forth, he would, when he couldn't solve a problem, he would place it in what he called a kind of sleep solution. So he would think about it just as he was falling asleep, and he would always wake up with an answer, and he'd run to the lab, or he would run to the plant and see what he could do with the results of resolving his issues in sleep. And he's very, as am I, very, very intuitive, and he just used that part of his brain very wonderfully. And you know, there were many others. Dr. Banting, a Canadian physician, put himself into hypnosis, and during his hypnotic sleep had the insight that led to the creation of insulin.
Wow.
And I always like to talk about Albert Einstein, who, you know, was a notoriously brilliant man, but also a man who struggled in school and very likely would have been considered on the spectrum of autism. Certainly, he was dyslexic. He had all kinds of behavior problems in school, and he hypnotized himself every day after lunch. And it was during these hypnotic naps that he would take that he would conjure the equations and the theorems that led to all that his career is remembered for. So
Wow.
it's great stuff it's great stuff for creativity. I use it to solve a problem when I'm writing.
Well, you
It's
know, I've
wonderful.
used it too.
Yeah.
During my ad agency days and still today, you know, when I'm helping someone, if I need to design a logo or come up with the right colors and I'm kind of stuck, as I go to bed that night, I will say, okay, I need to design a logo for, you know, I will talk to myself, and then I'll wake up at 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning and I've got it. So that means I have to get out of bed and put it down on paper,
Yeah.
or when I wake up, it's gone.
Yes. Yeah.
So-
very elusive. It's interesting. But another good idea will come right along.
Yes, but not the same one, you know. And of course I get frustrated by that. What can I, you know, I mean, I can't help myself.
The mind is fascinating, and I think we're, in our culture, it's wonderful that we're moving with some, I mean, I'm always impatient, but with some level of thoughtful speed toward mind-body medicine and understanding that there really is a connection and that they're not separate.
And you know, that's interesting because I've had people on my show, we've talked about the mind, body, spirit connection.
Yes.
I think it's all equally important, and all three need to be balanced in your life. And we're hearing more and more people say, well, I've heard it all the time, so it must be real. Yes, it's real. And it's as real as you want it to be.
Yeah, and not being separate from any of those parts of yourself. You know, you're human beings. We are soulful beings, but we are living in a physical body, so we have to learn some skills to know how to take care of the physical body. But the spirit is vast and capable of incredible things.
And so many people say, you know, my spirit is out in the universe, or it's been in a different place, a different time, a different person. You know, there's a lot that that is
A lot of mystery. There's a lot of mystery.
A lot of mystery. And I've always been a fan of mysteries. Give me a challenge, give me a puzzle, give me a mystery, and I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. Let's work on that. That's the way I start every day. keep this old mind still going. You know, I do my puzzles in the morning. I look at the newspaper and I usually go, oh, bad news. Oh, bad news. You know, and then I get to the puzzle part and I go, all right, I'm ready.
That's wonderful. It's great for your brain.
Oh, it is.
I love crossword puzzles.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah.
My dad used to do them all the time too. He got me doing crossword puzzles. He got me into mysteries and science fiction, and he was the one that introduced me to John Carpenter back in the Monkey on My Back days. And my dad could speak bits and pieces of 7 languages, but he taught himself. I mean, it's just amazing. The brain is an amazing thing, and we're going to talk more about that the next time you come on the show. We're going to talk about that at the end to let you know she's coming back. But it's just amazing. The minds are
It's vast.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's one of the wellness skills, is hypnosis. And we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and talk about another wellness skill. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to keep you in suspense for 2 minutes, okay? And then come back and join Jane, Percy, and myself in 2 minutes. Stay tuned.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education. So every year, I take promising high schoolers on a college tour to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
You can be a reader, tutor, or mentor too. Take the pledge at liveunited.org/volunteer.
Do you wear this?
And welcome back. I'm Marilyn, Dayton, your host on From This Corner TV, and our guest today is Jane Percy, founder and director of Riverlight Wellness Center. Before we went to the break, we were talking about hypnosis as a wellness skill. One thing we didn't touch upon before we go into another wellness skill is you worked with Dr. Brian Weiss.
I did.
Correct?
Yeah, he was my first hypnosis teacher. I spent a week studying with him. I couldn't have been more surprised years later that I ended up actually using hypnosis in my work. But I was curious about him. I thought he was, I don't know if people know, he was Yale-trained psychiatrist, author of a very well-known book, Many Lives, Many Masters. And he's now probably in an emeritus status, but he was head of psychiatry at the University of Miami Hospital. And he found hypnosis tremendously helpful in treating very, very difficult cases of trauma. And in one of the experiences that he had with a young woman, it's a long story, and I know I can't tell all of it, and it's his story. So anyone who's curious about this, they definitely will want to read Many Lives, Many Masters. But he discovered that sometimes in hypnosis, people moved back into memories of other times other than this present life. And because he was medically trained and there was no science to support that, he kept quiet about it for quite a while, but he noticed that people got better and better and better, and then he began using hypnosis to help people retrieve memories. So it's a fascinating, his work is fascinating. He has the most wonderful thing that he says, and he really believes, and many people say things like this, and sometimes they believe it and sometimes not. He's very true when he says only love is real, that everything else is the opposite of love. So when we are in fear and when we're anxious, we're not in a flow state of feeling safe and protected. And his classes were wonderful. I worked with students from all over the world. It was just absolutely great, and I'm very, very grateful to him.
You know, one of the
what
things
I
that
learned.
fascinates me is, I mean, anybody that's been on Oprah, of course, it's a blessing because then your name gets spread wider than it may have been before. But the interesting thing is that you can do hypnosis. You can do it on the television, you can do it even on the radio and on the phone, right?
I've done it on the phone with people from all over the world. I've had people call in, and fascinating experience and a very rich experience of feeling very, very connected and knowing that you don't necessarily have to be in the same room with people to feel connected to them, that wonderful sort of sense of showing up for something. It was a very, very wonderful opportunity that I had to work with a huge group of people doing a teleconference, and I love doing group hypnosis. It's my favorite thing, to fill a huge room or hall with people, because they're people like you, Marilyn, who are deep, trance capable, and if someone who's not so capable of that sits near you, your ability to relax and go deeply draws them into it, and they'll be so surprised at what they experience because you and 2 or 3 other people who have this deep ability to go into hypnosis help them. So, and then often they're collective experiences.
That's amazing. I mean, that's a couple of hour show at least on its own. And one of the other experiences that I've had with you recently is meditation. Now, meditation is another wellness skill.
It is, and it's it's a wellness skill that's available to people. It's so easy and to access, and there are online sites that you can download on your iPhone or on your laptop where you can receive guidance and learn how to meditate. I think the first step toward meditation, and something I always say to people, what's the quick thing you can do to get out of a stressed moment? And that is to breathe. Take a breath. We hold our breath when we're in traffic, or if we don't like what's happening in front of us in line somewhere. And we don't consciously know we're doing that, but just taking a breath and maybe just sending a blessing to all the annoying people who are in front of you. And it's amazing what happens. The line clears up, and
it's powerful.
Yeah, it's better than gnashing your teeth. So taking your breath is the simplest form of meditation, and you give yourself credit every time you consciously breathe deeply, and especially focus on the releasing breath. You have done a little mini meditation, and you'll be better than you were before you did it. But all the research that I've found points toward the value of taking these little mini vacations each day. Whether you begin your day with 10 minutes of meditation, some people have time to do longer, a half hour is wonderful, but I think often people get discouraged because they think, well, I don't have a half hour, so I'm not going to do it. And what I want to be sure people know is that even a 2-minute meditation will help you feel much more comfortable with whatever you are facing in the next few minutes. I meditated before I came here today, just briefly. I pictured you, I pictured where we are, I pictured the good feeling that I wanted to have in being with you, and I knew I would have. I pictured wonderful people watching and listening and being very interested, and it's creating the moment, but I felt much more relaxed and less harried. So it was great that you came to meditation on Wednesday morning. We have a group that spends an hour, and we do 2 short meditations. I do a guided meditation because sometimes people need help.
Oh, yeah.
It helps them to feel a little quieter, and it's tough to go from 60. You know, people talk about going from 0 to 60. It's hard to go from 60 back to 0. So sometimes having a voice or a little music to lead you into a more peaceful mindset helps. But one of the easiest forms of meditation, and something I do with children, is just to have them, they don't even have to close their eyes, but just to get little eyes a little bit softer, is to breathe in and out and to count from 1 to 10. So an intake of breath is 1, and an exhale is 2. And it's amazing how much more focused and settled and calm they can be. It's probably not something you would do in the middle of a tantrum.
No, probably wouldn't work.
But if you practice this with your kids, you probably will notice that there are fewer tantrums with little kids. And I think families who meditate together have a very unique way of relating to one another. Just sitting for a few minutes and everybody just being together and breathing and closing their eyes, and maybe they have one thing that they focus on, or maybe it's just a free meditation. So I think one of the reasons it's really important in this day and age is that we all need to unplug. We have real digital stress. We have way too many gadgets and gizmos and Wi-Fi and so forth. And people don't realize that there are stressors in the experience of being in a room that's wired, and sleeping, for instance. It's not healthy to sleep in an atmosphere where Wi-Fi is going around the clock. It's much more harmful to children. Really affects your DNA and your immune system. I call it the hidden toxin. You can't see it, but if you're sensitive like I am, you can feel it. And it certainly does cause people to feel anxious and tired and headachy and sluggish and a whole host of other things. So, you know, moving away from your iPhone and all the other things that you're used to spending time with, closing your eyes just for a few minutes really allows the brain to completely recalibrate. It's kind of like a reset button.
Yeah.
You know, you push the reset button, you get to start over. And so little mini 2-minute meditations once or twice throughout the workday, a little longer maybe before you go to bed, can really, really change how you feel about the world.
Well, at our house, we love chocolate, okay? So what we do is we do a chocolate meditation. Now, if you look up on about.com, you can actually Google it, and it'll talk about chocolate meditation, which is a wonderful thing. But we love chocolate in our house. So what we do is we sit at the table and we reward ourselves with a piece of chocolate. And what we do is we put it on our tongues, we close our eyes, and we go, mmm.
Sounds a lot like Om.
It does. Very, very close. Now let's get back to children and meditation. Wouldn't it be beneficial to have meditation in school systems?
Oh my goodness, yes. And there's some wonderful stories about stressed schools with high crime rates and poor attendance and absent parents, adding meditation really early, kindergarten, believe it or not.
Wow.
Little children can benefit from it. It's a different process than what we did on Wednesday, but it still yields tremendous benefits. One of the things that the studies where they have been offering meditation as part of a school curriculum in elementary school is that focus is better, fewer behavior problems, fewer trips to the principal's office, fewer detentions, learning at a faster rate, and a complete reduction in bullying. And that's a really interesting thing.
Bullying is such a huge thing. To
It's-
have it be affected
it's
by
deadly.
something so simple.
It's deadly. We have children
As
who don't
meditating.
survive it because
Yeah.
they just don't know how to deal with it. So the child who is a bullier who meditates will very quickly stop, because the minute you enter the interior of your mind and you become more mindful about your actions, you begin to self-correct. Wouldn't it be interesting to teach meditation in prison?
Oh, yes.
Wouldn't it?
Meditation could help a lot of people in a lot of places, at a lot of ages, and a lot of circumstances.
Yeah.
Are you listening to this? This is amazing. I mean, we may have found a cure for a lot of situations.
Well,
here.
some improving circumstances. You know, my dream is to seed a program that gets meditation skills into public schools in our area, training teachers so that they know how to pass this on to their students and to help one another with it. And in many, many wonderful places, people meditate before they begin meetings. I know when I worked at Bacchus Hospital, Amy Dunyan, who is a marvelous mindful person and applies mindfulness in the hospital setting, would begin all of our meetings with just a brief mindfulness exercise and meditation. And the quality of that meeting was so enhanced because there were no agendas. It was always very thoughtful, reflective, and collaborative, as opposed to what can happen sometimes when people have their territory and their.
Yes.
So this is my dream, and I'm fortunate that I have a granddaughter who's interested in sharing this with me, because I think she would be the best possible teammate I could have.
Oh, wow.
And so we're working on this. She's written a 2-page curriculum already, and she's very impatient with me that I haven't got my act together.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we're going to see how this will expand and develop. But it's been such a wonderful thing in my own life. Meditation truly saved me at a time when I was going through a huge life transition that caused me to feel very unwell and frightened and adrift. And I was so desperate to find a way to feel better about those changes, and that's when I began to study meditation. It was probably about 20 years ago. And it's always my go-to. When chocolate doesn't do it, although it usually does, and exercise and talking with a friend, yoga, all of those kinds of things. I love also to do Tai Chi and Qigong. There are times when the only remedy is to sit and move inside to all the chaos and breathe through it and be abiding in the middle of that chaos as opposed to trying to escape it. So I'd love to find ways to help others with it, and I'm not the first person who's thought of this.
No, but you're the first person on our show that's talked about it. And this is the first time our viewers have heard about it, applied in the way that you're talking about, which, it's amazing. The people that we have on this show, they make so much sense, and it's like, duh. We should have thought about that, So I love it when we have guests on the show like yourself who make us stop and think. It's just so important. So meditation meditation is medication.
Yes, it is. It is. It's a little mini RX, and guaranteed your blood pressure will come into a normal range. So many wonderful things. There are many, many stories and books and great documentation about people who've overcome chronic pain. And that requires a great deal of faith to sit in stillness day after day after day when there is pain, but to feel the sense of being able to release it. So, there's the exterior world we live in and all the stimulation of it and the delight and the challenge of it. We're humans and we're sociable beings. But we do need to have an inner life. And that needs to be important too, and be scheduled, and to be, not have to defend that with friends saying, well, why can't you drop everything and come? Well, because this is my quiet time, And so I hope that in some way that people who are viewing will be curious about how they might find a way to include just a little quiet time, eyes closed. You can listen to a little bit of music. You can listen to, I have all kinds of CDs that people can have and listen to that help them get into a meditative state if they're too busy, if their mind is too busy. There's walking meditation. you know, movement and meditation. If I'm in warm, salt water like the Caribbean and floating, I'm definitely meditating.
Oh, yes, I've been there, done that too. Yes, yes.
I've had dolphins come up. I had a dolphin with a brand new dolphin babe swim, you know, wild dolphins swim alongside me because I was just floating and
Oh my
meditating.
goodness.
So the energy that you put out is peaceful.
Wow. That's, you know, if you don't have chocolate, these things are good to know. Well, it's. I read where chocolate has endorphins or something.
It
that
raises
makes you
your
feel,
endorphins. Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
Yeah, the good stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff.
The good
yes.
stuff.
And that's the only kind you should use.
Right.
And when you don't have it, eat the other. But that's okay. So I was a part of this Wednesday meditation group. And we didn't introduce ourselves to each other than saying hi and welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I noticed the most was how deeply I went into the meditation. Mm-hmm. And I had a purpose for myself, but I ended up reaching out across the ocean to Japan to picture my son's father-in-law who is battling cancer. And it was amazing how I pictured him. I mean, I was really there. You know, it felt like I was really there. And then I heard, I heard that it actually had an effect on him.
He's feeling better. Yeah, well,
Yes.
thoughts are things. And a kind, loving, caring thought is a real thing. And when you're meditating, it becomes bigger because there is stillness and there isn't all the static of telephone calls and things like that. And we did. In part of the meditation, I recall saying, now bring someone in your care, in your mind, in your heart, someone that you're concerned about, into your meditation, and let there be a blessing for them.
And it happened. Mm-hmm. Wow. It was, I can't wait to do it again, okay? I'm putting it on my calendar.
And we don't all talk the way, in social ways, because it's another way of being together, and it's interesting. So if this group were to sit in meditation over a period of time, let's say 6 months, you would know more about the fellow meditators than you might know about somebody that you talk to every day, but you'd know something different. It wouldn't be what they're cooking for dinner, but you'd know their heart, you know who they are, what they bring with them, what they're about. And it's a wonderful way to be in connection with other people.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I noticed something else too. When you think of the energy around us, it's kind of an intangible, mm-hmm. generally speaking. You don't see it, you don't smell it, you don't feel it, you don't see it. Well, at the end, I could feel energy. I felt something, some kind of resistance, kind of like magnets.
Mm-hmm. It's exactly what it was. It's electromagnetic energy.
And I could feel it.
We call it chi. It's your own.
And you encouraged us to go
mm-hmm.
to the edge of it. Mm-hmm. So I went until I couldn't feel it anymore, and then but I had to feel it again. So I came back just enough that I could feel it, mm-hmm. and I went, okay, that's really, mm-hmm. I mean, I could feel it. Okay, so it went from being an intangible to a tangible.
Very real.
Which is quite amazing.
Mm. Isn't that wonderful that
Yes.
you gave yourself that?
I know. It was, I can't wait
good stuff.
to feel it again.
It's good stuff. And every human being has this energy in their bodies. And so it's just finding it, working with it, paying attention to it, and putting it to good use.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's where healing touch comes from.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
You know, because it's, I mean, once you feel it, and it's not that I was, you know, how you feel something or you see something and you're hooked kind of thing. It was a little bit like that, because it was very powerful.
Yeah.
It was a very powerful feeling. Almost like I felt like if I had a tummy ache or something, I could have I could have taken that energy that I was feeling and turning it toward myself.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's the first time I've ever felt that. And it was, and of course I can't go home and tell my family about this because they'll go, okay, you feeling okay, Mom? You know, I said, no. Because nobody can understand unless they felt
experience it.
Yes, absolutely. But that was my first time without chocolate.
Without chocolate. Well,
And guess what?
I don't know what
need
to say.
chocolate anymore.
Maybe I need to bring chocolate to meditation. I don't think so.
It was
I don't
better.
think so.
It was better than the chocolate. Who needs the chocolate? Right?
Hopefully you'll appreciate the chocolate you have later after you've got so still inside your head that every morsel will taste like heaven.
Yes, absolutely. I'll give it to myself as a reward afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm coming back, okay?
Good. Oh,
I'm
it's
coming
great.
back.
Oh, well, it's wonderful to have you, and it's a good group.
Now, if, you know, our viewers, okay, obviously they're going to be interested in what we're talking about. But what we want to make sure is that they, and Frank can bring up your website and your contact information. We're not done with the show yet, okay? But I want to, and there it is.
There it is.
Because when you have the interest, that's the time when you need to write it down and you need to do something about it. Because by tomorrow, the interest will have kind of, you know, filtered away because of all the digital world and the stress and all the activity that we have going on in our lives. Because, you know, you owe it to yourself, okay? We all owe it to ourselves to take a few minutes for us. Because I've been reading a lot about meditation. I wanted to know a little bit more about it before I came Wednesday. And I read about all these benefits from it. You know, you open your mind, which is so great before a meeting. You know, you open your mind to, it gives you this peace and this calmness and this word called receptivity, maybe, that you be able to listen and understand what others say, and you won't take it personally, you won't be defensive, you'll be open to what they have to say. And you'll be open to learning more.
And there are many applications. I noticed when I first started meditating years ago, I was playing a lot of golf. It was something my sons really liked doing with me. It wasn't. It was one of the things that they would tolerate. Having teenage boys would tolerate having their mother along. So we played a lot of golf together. And I noticed that when I began meditating, I started to hit the ball farther and straighter, and my score improved, and I definitely saw the connection. And there's something about focus, relaxed focus, that will help people in anything sports related, anything involving coordination, endurance, all of those things.
Another place.
Another place.
Another place to apply this, right?
I've had a lot of fun doing hypnosis with golfers, serious golfers who want to improve their game, and it's a lot of fun for me.
Oh, that sounds like it would be.
It is.
Because it's so
completely
effective.
different from, and it's so different from helping somebody who's suffering. So it's very playful and.
Yeah, I would understand that. And you know, there's so much that. Think about this. Okay, say I like to play tennis. Okay, I don't get to play it all that often, and the older I got, the less my game was good, should I say? So just think of it in this kind of instance. I want to go play tennis, maybe with my daughter, okay? And I go, oh my God, I haven't played in how many years, you know, or maybe once or twice. And I want to be able to focus on the ball, you know, and hit that ball where I want to hit it. I can meditate about it. And have a better game than I would have otherwise.
Picture getting that first serve in.
Absolutely. Think about all the ways that our viewers can use hypnosis and meditation. And the thing is, you can teach them how to do this themselves. That's
right.
Wonderful.
Yep. The whole idea is not to have you coming in week after week after week, not to be creating an annuity.
Yeah.
But to have people, and that's why I think of myself as a teacher, have people learn a skill that they can take and run with and use for a whole host of different kinds of things, then that gives me great, great reward. Makes me feel
imagine
wonderful.
It does. And I know all those people are grateful. I mean, I'm grateful you've been in my life and helping me in so many different ways.
It's a very shared thing. So my
is.
gratitude is every bit as big as yours. It's very much a shared thing. So it's not something that I do to somebody else or do for somebody else. It's a kind of listening and saying, well, let's see how this would work.
Yeah, and it's just so enjoyable, just so enjoyable. And you know what? We deserve it. We deserve to enjoy, we deserve to enjoy ourselves and to find ways of not just enjoying ourselves and talking to ourselves, but helping ourselves and sometimes healing ourselves. I mean, now that I know that that tangible is there, I can't wait to feel it again. And I hope I have a tummy ache or something and I'll go, ooh. This has been such a pleasure, such a pleasure. Your website has got everything that you're doing listed on it.
It does.
So people can go to your website, and there it is, and find out what you're doing, and then come
give us
and
a call.
experience.
And we
Yeah.
do have events throughout this. We will be having throughout the spring, where people can come and just experience some of these things and learn some of them without it being a private appointment. Just come in.
And if someone's interested in having a private appointment, maybe they've got an issue, whether it's health related or stress related, and they need your help and guidance, just give her a call.
And tell me that you saw us on your show. I want to know that.
Oh, yes.
Mention
I want to know too.
Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. And, you know, I'm ending each show now with a quote that, that is connected to the subject matter. And Jane gave me this one, and I think it's wonderful. Oliver Wendell Holmes. The mind, once expanded to the dimensions of larger ideas, never returns to its original size. So you know what? You can learn hypnosis, meditation. You're never going to be the same. You're going to be better. You're going to be, it's just amazing stuff. Our next show, we're going to have Paula Jean Burns on with us from her business Bespoke, the art of living all in. Okay, that I really love. Just live all in. I can't wait for that. That's going to be really fun. She's a fun girl. So thank you so much for joining us. You're just as important as we are. And we're looking forward to the next time that you can join us. Same place, same time, and we look forward to it. Thank you so much for joining us today.